Hi, Daryl Wittenberg here with Industrial Solutions, and today we're going to show you something that's really innovative in our rental fleet. Since 2002, we have been a company that's been focused on bringing welding automation to your applications, and we have over 30 years of experience in selling orbital welding equipment just like this Magnatech D-Head. Now, what makes the D-Head so very usable in the field of process piping is its quick on and off design and its capability of changing from one size to another very easily. So essentially what you would do is you have a chain that clamps the head onto the guide ring. This is the guide ring right here. We set that guide ring 2.5 inches off the center of the joint. Then I just take this chain and set it to the right size. So I have a chain here for a 3-inch pipe size, and we have a guide ring for a 3-inch pipe size. These come in a kit, so I set the head up to be that size, and then I simply bring it up here and clamp it onto this guide ring. If you'll notice on the back of the guide ring, there are indentions. There are a total of 6 of these indentions all the way around the guide ring. That is how the head knows where it is in rotation. Once it clocks that it has covered 6 of those indentions, it knows that it is back home. Once it's done that, once it's gone through all 6 of those indentions, the weld head knows that it's done a full 360 on the weld, and you're finished, or it will go to the next pass. So now we've clamped the head on, locking it into place, making sure my clamp's nice and tight. And I'm going to take my controller now. This is another thing that Magnatech does extremely well. This is the easiest to operate controller on the market. I have steering right here. I have up and down for my torch. I have travel for my weld head itself. And then I have wire feed manipulation. All of that right here. So I can really handle all of the attributes of the weld without having to go back over to the power supply for anything. So I'm going to drop that torch down real quick and kind of make sure that we're aligned with where we want to be. There, I've gotten my head aligned with the torch and the seam of this weld. Now what we're going to be welding is a 3-inch Schedule 10, and what we've done just to replicate a pipe to a fitting is we've beveled one side of our coupon and we left the other side square cut. Now these were done on an Axair pipe and tube saw, so we essentially will have a joint that looks like this. That will give us the ability to replicate a pipe to a fitting while at the same time giving us the ability to do a one-pass weld with reinforcement on the ID and the OD. Now you can see I have the controller here or the remote pendant for the 515 power supply that we're using for this. But I wanted to show you another awesome feature of the Magnatech line. This is the 516 controller. Now, if you'll notice, the 2 remote pendants look very similar. The difference is with the 515, it has an onboard power supply. So it can generate its own welding current. But it is limited on the duty cycle and the amperage allowed by that power supply. If you're in a situation where you need higher duty cycle or you need more amperage than what the 515 can produce, you can move to the 516. And the 516 is really unique in the fact that it's a controller, not a power supply. And what that really means is if you're in a situation where you need more amperage than the 515 will allow you to weld with, or you need a higher duty cycle, you can move to the 516 and then you can connect an EWM or a Miller power supply to it that has higher amperage and higher duty cycle, but you still get to be in that Magnatech orbital welding environment. So this is a great feature, and for many of our clients that are looking to move to orbital welding, we actually recommend they go with a controller, not the power supply, so they have more capacity on the upper end of their amperage requirements and duty cycle. The other advantage is if the power supply section were to go down, you simply swap out to another Miller or EWM and you're back up and running. So you're not really dependent so much on one piece of equipment in your shop. So going back to the weld that we're getting ready to do, again, we've got a 3-inch schedule 10. I've got the program in this controller ready to go. So I'm going to test my purge and make sure that I've got my shielding gas set the way I want it. I can see it over there on my regulator that we're good. I'm going to check my alignment. I think we're good there. Now I'm going to tell this to go to the next home position. That is the next position on that guide ring where you have those indentations. So it's going to travel around the pipe till it gets to that next indentation that's on that guide ring. So I'm going to turn off my purge now. Get my welding hood. And we're ready to weld. So when I start this, it will automatically go through a pre-purge or give me shielding gas for about 5 seconds. Then it's going to strike the arc using high frequency. This weld head will monitor that arc gap all the way around. It's going to feed the wire at the time that I tell it to automatically. It's going to be pulsing, giving me a high side pulse. I believe I'm at about 110 amps here. And it's going to give me a background pulse that's 50% of that. My wire feed is going to be about 30 inches a minute. This weld will take about 3.5 or 4 minutes to complete. So the purge starts. You can hear my water cooler also kicking in. We're traveling and we're getting that pulse, and the wire has also started. So while I'm welding, if I needed to make any adjustments to steering, staying on line with the seam, things of that sort, I can steer while I'm welding, but the real key is setting up that guide ring so I don't have to do a lot of steering when I'm doing the weld. So I'm staying in line with the weld. I'm just checking it across the bottom, making sure that we're not sagging too much. We're welding right on that seam where we want it to be. We're currently traveling at 3.2 inches per minute. We're feeding 28 inches per minute of wire. And now we're coming uphill across the bottom. The really great thing about the D-Head is that it is a really simple system for someone who's new to orbital welding to pick up the way it works, the loading of the wire. The maintenance on this head is very simple as well. So it's really durable. It's great for that Schedule 10 market. This particular head can go from 2-inch all the way through 14 simply by changing that guide ring. Just bump my wire feed up a little bit coming across the top because gravity is now going to be wanting to pull that in, so I wanted to cool that puddle off a little bit by adding a little more wire. We're now on our last of those 6 indentations I told you about on that guide ring. It's letting me know it's in level 6. Right here, we're going to be coming into our tie-in. It'll automatically go into a downslope and give me a little bit of an overlap. So we're into our downslope now. The system will go ahead, downslope the power. It also turns off the wire, and then it'll keep that gas flowing for a set amount of time that I determine so that I can make sure we get that puddle cooled before we turn the gas off. So I have it in a return to home mode, so it's going to go back to that original location. Now I can turn this mode off. I don't have to return to home, but if you were up in a rack and you were wrapping that cable around, you weren't open on the end like I am here, this would be a really important feature so you didn't have your cable twisting up on you. Real quick, I want to show you that guide ring. This is a 2-inch guide ring here, and we were talking about those indentations that are in the guide ring. That's what these are. So the head has a sensor that knows when it crosses over one of these. As you can see, there are 6 of these on the guide ring. Once it travels through all 6 of those and the sensor picks that up, it knows it's done a full rotation. So now we're back into that home position. The head will stop, and I'll take the head off the joint. So I loosen up the thumb screw over here that holds the head in place. Pull the chain off, and now the head can come off. It is that easy to go from joint to joint. Now then, if I were in a production mode, I might have 2 of these guide rings set so that I can be setting up the next weld, and then I would just simply take that head, go put it on that next weld, and I would move this to the next location. So we'll set our head over here on the table. And I'm going to remove that guide ring. That itself is very simple as well. I simply loosen the clamping screw that's on the guide ring, and it slides right off. Now this guide ring is also hinged, so if I weren't in a situation where I could slide it on the end, it will open up and let me close it around the pipe as well. So we're going to loosen our jig that we've got holding this pipe coupon into place. So I've loosened that up. I'm going to wire wheel that OD a little bit. Finished loosening up my jig. This lets you see that weld. It's really hard to see the inside, but we are fully penetrated on the inside. It allows you to do a repeatable quality weld, whether it be up in a rack or on a bench like this. The Magnatech 516 weld controller and the D-Head, or the 420 Magnatech D-Head, is a great combination to help you achieve your goals in process piping. Thank you for watching this video.